You felt it before, that strange pull in your chest when she looks at you, the quickening heartbeat, the sweat in your palms, the irrational certainty that this moment, this woman, means everything. But what if I told you it's not real? What if the burning desire that consumes you in her presence isn't attraction, but manipulation? Not the cartoonish kind, not lies whispered in your ear, not some evil plan she scribbled in her journal. No, this is deeper, subtler, more primal. These are the psychological tricks women consciously or unconsciously use to bend men. Tricks woven not in words, but in glances, in silences, in the way their very presence infects your nervous system. And the most brutal truth? You never even notice it happening. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That is exactly what happens when a man finds himself enslaved by desire. He believes it is love, or destiny, or chemistry. But beneath it all, hidden in the shadows of his psyche, something else is pulling the strings. Think about it. How many men have lost years of their life chasing a woman who never cared? How many brothers have poured out their soul, their money, their time, only to be discarded like trash? And yet, they defend her, they excuse her, they say things like, "But she's different, you don't understand. She's special." Special, no. She simply knew which strings to pull. You're about to see what most men will go their entire lives blind to. The 5 psychological tricks women use to capture men's attention, devotion, and resources. Tricks rooted in evolutionary instinct, sharpened by culture, and reinforced by your own blind spots. And before you imagine this as some conspiracy, understand this. Many women don't even know they're doing it, just as a spider doesn't. Think about weaving a web. It just does. But to the fly caught in the silk, the difference doesn't matter. These tricks work. And unless you recognize them, you will remain prey. The first step, then, is awareness. To finally drag these games out of the shadows. To see clearly. To name the maneuvers that bind you. Because once you see them, the power collapses. The illusion fades. But let me warn you, most men don't want this knowledge. They'd rather stay blind because blindness is easier. It preserves the fantasy. It lets them keep chasing the dream of salvation in a woman's arms. You're different. That's why you're here. And if you have the courage to continue, you will never see women the same way again. This is the 5 psychological tricks women use that men never see. She doesn't even need to speak. Sometimes all it takes is the way she looks away. The way her smile lingers, then disappears like smoke. The pause before she answers your question. That silence, charged, heavy, suffocating, isn't accidental. It's the first trick, mystery. And mystery isn't passive. Mystery is power. Carl Jung taught that the psyche projects unconscious desires onto the people we meet. In simple terms, you don't see her. You see a reflection of your own hunger, your own buried feminine image. That's why she feels different. That's why she feels special. Not because of who she is, but because of what your unconscious paints onto her face. But here's the devastating part. She knows it. Maybe not consciously, maybe not in words, but women intuitively understand the magnetic force of mystery. They let you fill in the blanks, they let you project, and in that projection, you build the cage yourself. Think of it like this: she's a blank canvas, and you, desperate for meaning, desperate for beauty, desperate for salvation, start painting with your own fantasies. You're the one who gives her divine qualities, who imagines her as a goddess, a healer, a savior. She doesn't have to prove it, she doesn't have to earn it. You hand her the crown before she even speaks. And men, we fall for it every single time. Why? Because our brains are wired to seek patterns, to complete stories, to chase mystery. Evolutionarily, mystery heightened desire. The woman who withheld, who kept men guessing, commanded more attention than the one who gave everything away. The uncertainty drives obsession. The unanswered questions create chemical addiction in the brain. Neurologically, it's dopamine. Psychologically, it's projection. Spiritually, it's blindness. You tell yourself, I can't stop thinking about her. But you're not thinking about her. You're thinking about the dream you've built on top of her. This is why the mysterious girl trope works in every culture, every movie, every myth. From Helen of Troy to the femme fatale of noir films, men are drawn not to the woman herself, but to the void she creates in them, a void they desperately try to fill with their own longing. Do you understand now? Mystery isn't harmless. It's the oldest trick, and when paired with your own unconscious projections, it becomes lethal. Jung would say, the man who cannot distinguish between the woman before him and the within him is doomed to enslavement. He kneels before a mirage, so what's the counter? Brutal clarity. Seeing her as she is, not as your unconscious wishes her to be. That takes discipline. That takes awareness. And most men will never reach it. They will keep worshipping the mask. But not you. You've just seen through the first trick. And the deeper we go, the darker it gets. Because if mystery enslaves your mind, the second trick ensnares your very biology. There is a reason kingdoms have fallen over a woman's face. Why men have written poems, started wars, and ended their own lives, all for a glimpse of beauty that slips through their fingers like smoke. This is not exaggeration. This is history. This is psychology. This is the second trick. The weaponization of beauty. Beauty is not neutral. It is not harmless. It is the most ancient form of power. Arthur Schopenhauer once said, "What is beautiful is the promise of happiness." He was right and devastatingly wrong, because beauty doesn't promise happiness. Beauty promises hope, and hope enslaves. Think about what happens inside you when a beautiful woman walks into the room. Your chest tightens, your throat dries. Your body reacts before your mind has even formed a thought. This isn't romance, it's biology. Evolution wired you to respond this way. Your ancestors who ignored beauty did not reproduce. Your ancestors who chased it, who worshipped it, passed their genes forward. And so here you are, carrying their curse. But beauty alone isn't enough. A woman doesn't just have beauty. She knows how to wield it, the way she dresses, the way she tilts her head, the calculated pause before she meets your gaze. These are not random. They are signals, triggers, carefully tuned to activate instincts you cannot control. And here's the trap. The beauty isn't even for you. Not really. It's bait. It's the lure cast into the waters of your psyche, waiting to see how desperate you are. The compliment you give her, she banks it. The glance you steal, she notices. Your silence when she walks by, she records it like currency. And once she knows she has your attention, she deploys the second half of this trick, withholding, because attention, like beauty, is a drug. She gives you a little, a smile here, a touch there, a laugh at your joke. Enough to keep you hooked, enough to keep you guessing. Then she withdraws. Suddenly the smile is gone. The silence returns. Your veins ache with the absence of it. Do you see? She doesn't have to do anything extreme. She just has to let you taste the high of her attention, then starve you of it. And like an addict, you crawl back, begging for more. Sigmund Freud said, "Unexpressed emotions never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways." That is the secret of this trick. She awakens your deepest drives, desire, longing, hunger, but never fully satisfies them. And so you are left enslaved, chained not by her, but by your own biology, your own addiction to the rhythm of reward and denial. And the cruelest part, she may not even be doing this consciously. Some women do, yes, but for most, it is instinct. It is nature. It is the echo of thousands of years of selection written into their bones. But whether conscious or unconscious, the effect is the same. Your focus narrows, your mission weakens, your mind burns with her image. This is why men abandon their path. This is why men surrender their kingdoms, their wallets, their very souls. Not because she demanded it, but because she knew how to weaponize what evolution gave her. Beauty and the currency of attention. You've seen it. You've lived it. But it's only the second trick. The third cuts deeper. It doesn't just touch your mind or your biology. It infiltrates your very sense of worth. If beauty and mystery are the bait, this third trick is the blade. It is not soft. It is not seductive. It is sharp, deliberate, merciless. It is the test. Every man has felt it. That subtle jab disguised as a joke. The dismissive laugh when you reveal a dream. The sudden coldness when you show too much eagerness. She is watching you, probing you, searching for cracks, and if she finds one, she twists the knife. Carl Jung wrote that the shadow of the feminine can be both nurturing and destructive. Here the destructive side reigns, because this trick feeds on your deepest fear, the fear of not being enough. When she tests you, she is not just playing games, she is measuring your value. And the cruel reality is this: she measures not who you are, but how you react. Picture it, you're on a date. She casually mentions another man who just won't stop messaging her. She watches your face. Do you flinch? Do you grow silent? Do you puff your chest and try to compete? In that instant, you've revealed yourself. Your insecurity is laid bare, or perhaps she mocks you lightly, playfully. She teases your job, your clothes, your ambition. She studies your reaction. Do you defend yourself desperately? Do you sulk? Or do you laugh, unshaken, untouchable? These are not accidents. These are tests, subtle psychological probes designed to uncover your strength or your weakness. Machiavelli would have understood this perfectly. He wrote that all rulers must test their subjects, and women in their own way rule the realm of desire. Testing is their politics. Testing is their diplomacy. Testing is their way of separating the strong from the weak without ever needing to ask. And here is the brutal truth. Most men fail. They crumble at the slightest withdrawal of approval. They contort themselves into shapes they think she'll like. They chase validation like a thirsty dog chasing a drop of water. And she sees it and she despises it. Why? Because deep down, women do not want men who kneel. They want men who stand. They want to feel the gravity of a man who cannot be bent by a passing gust of disapproval. But here's the paradox. She will never stop testing, ever. Even if you pass one test, another comes, and another. Because the feminine, by its very nature, seeks the limits of the masculine. And the moment you break, the moment you surrender your frame, the spell is broken. Freud spoke of the superego as an internalized voice of authority, punishing us with shame when we fall short. In relationships, the woman often becomes that superego, doling out shame and approval like a god on a throne. And men, desperate for love, for acceptance, for peace, hand over their power to her judgment. Do you see now? This trick is not just about her. It's about you, your weakness, your unhealed wounds, your craving for approval. She doesn't create that crack, but she will find it. And once she does, she will press until you shatter. So what's the counter? It's simple but brutal. You must no longer live for her approval. You must no longer fear her shame. Your value cannot come from her reaction, her gaze, her tests. It must come from you, from your mission, from the strength of your being. Otherwise, you'll fail every time, and she will never respect you. This is the third trick, and if you thought testing your value was merciless, wait until you see the fourth. Because the next one doesn't just test your strength, it hijacks your very identity. It always starts the same way. Late-night conversations, a quiet room, her voice softer than usual. She tells you things she's never told anyone before. The scars of her childhood, the betrayals, the heartbreaks. You listen and you feel chosen, trusted, special. You think, she opened up to me. That means I matter. But here lies the fourth trick, the illusion of emotional intimacy. It feels like connection, it feels like closeness, but often it's nothing more than a performance, conscious or unconscious, that binds you to her. Carl Jung warned that intimacy often awakens projections, not truth. When someone bears their soul, you don't just hear their story, you see your own reflection in it. You think, she's just like me, she understands me, we're bonded. But what if that bond is an illusion? What if it's just the bait in a deeper trap? Women have mastered the art of weaving vulnerability into seduction. A well-timed confession isn't just sharing, it's a test, it's a hook, it's a way of pulling you closer. When she leans in, eyes glassy with unshed tears, you don't just see her pain. You feel compelled to protect her, to heal her, to fix her, and in that instant you step into the role she has written for you, the savior, the rescuer, the man who will finally give her the safety no one else could. But here's the brutal reality. Her vulnerability is often selective, strategic. She reveals just enough to pull your empathy, but never enough to truly expose herself. She gives you the appearance of intimacy while keeping the walls intact. And the more you give in response, the more you reveal about your own fears, your own doubts, your own wounds, the deeper the hook, because now you're not just desiring her beauty, you're entangled in her narrative, you're emotionally invested in her healing. You've tied your worth to whether or not she sees you as the man who can save her. Freud called this transference, the tendency to project unresolved feelings onto another person. You think you're loving her, but in reality, you're replaying your own unfinished story, hoping she'll give you the closure you never had. And she benefits. She holds the role of the one who must be saved, while you exhaust yourself, trying to prove your devotion. Think of how many men have fallen into this trap. They meet a woman, broken, damaged, different. They give everything, time, money, soul, believing love will heal her. Years later, they are drained, hollow, discarded. The intimacy they believed in was nothing but smoke. This doesn't mean all vulnerability is manipulation. Some women are genuine. But the trick is this. Men cannot tell the difference when blinded by desire, and in that blindness, they fall prey to the illusion. Do you see how lethal this is? It's not just lust anymore. It's identity. It's the belief that you are the chosen one who can fix, heal, and redeem. And when she leaves, it's not just heartbreak, it's existential collapse. The fourth trick is not about sex, it's about soul entrapment. And the men who fall into it rarely escape intact. But the fifth trick, the final one, is the most devastating of all. Because it doesn't just manipulate your mind, your biology, or your emotions. It hijacks your future. The final trick is not lust. It is not beauty. It is not even intimacy. It is salvation. The whisper that says, if you have me, you will finally be complete. The lie of eternity. The promise of forever. This is the most dangerous trick because it exploits your deepest hunger, not for sex, not for status, but for meaning. For a man's greatest wound is not in his body, but in his soul. And women, consciously or not, play upon that wound. Carl Jung said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Yes, love transforms, but the illusion of salvation corrupts. It convinces you that transformation can only come through her, that she is the missing piece of your soul. Think about it. Every culture, every religion, every story we tell men has echoed this trick. The princess who redeems the knight, the muse who inspires the poet, the loyal woman who makes the broken man whole. From childhood, you are conditioned to believe. Salvation comes not from within, but from her arms. And so when she whispers it, when she promises forever, you believe. You believe her love will heal your loneliness. You believe her devotion will silence your doubts. You believe her body, her words, her presence will make life bearable. But what happens when she leaves? When the goddess you placed on a pedestal shows her flaws? When the forever turns to dust in your hands, you collapse. Because you tied your very identity to her promise. This is the trick that ruins men's lives. This is why they destroy themselves in divorce courts. This is why they drink themselves to death after heartbreak. This is why kingdoms fall and great men crumble. Not because of sex, not because of beauty, but because they believed in salvation. Through another, Arthur Schopenhauer wrote with brutal clarity, "We should regard the intellect of women as being subordinate to that of men. It is not meant for great works, but for guiding men's needs to reproduction." Harsh words, but beneath them lies the truth. Men deceive themselves by making women into redeemers, when in reality women are human, fallible, temporal, fleeting. And yet men keep believing because hope is the cruelest drug of all. The promise of forever keeps you chained long after desire fades. It convinces you that without her, life has no meaning. And when she is gone, you feel as though you have died. But here's the revelation. No woman can save you. No woman was ever meant to. The promise of salvation through her love is the ultimate trick. And the antidote is brutal but liberating. You must save yourself, because the man who needs salvation from a woman will always be a slave. But the man who becomes whole on his own, the man who needs nothing, cannot be broken, cannot be manipulated, cannot be enslaved. That is the man women test for. That is the man they dream of. That is the man who transcends the 5 tricks, who breaks the cycle, who becomes untouchable. And this, brother, is the 5th trick, the one that ruins kings, the one that ruins you, if you let it. But if you can, see through it, if you can shatter it, you will walk a different path, a path of mastery, a path of freedom. Now you've seen them, the 5 psychological tricks: mystery, beauty, testing, intimacy, forever. 5 weapons, 5 illusions, 5 snares that men throughout history have walked into, willingly, blindly, desperately. And the question burns, why? Why do men, intelligent, capable, powerful men, fall again and again? Why do warriors, kings, and philosophers collapse at the feet of beauty as if under a spell? Carl Jung gave us the answer. Because what you see in her is not her. It is you, the anima, the inner feminine, the projection of all your unlived desires, all your unhealed wounds, all your suppressed longings. You do not fall for her. You fall for yourself, reflected in her. That is the devastating truth. The woman is not a goddess. She is not a savior. She is human, flesh and blood, flawed. But your mind, your ancient biology, your cultural programming, your wounded soul elevates her into something divine. And in worshipping her, you forget yourself. That is how the traps are sprung. Nietzsche warned us, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. But when your why becomes her, when your mission, your strength, your identity is anchored in a woman, you have no foundation. You crumble at the first withdrawal of her smile. You collapse at the breaking of her promise. This is not a call to hate women. It is not a call to reject intimacy. It is a call to wake up, to see through the illusions, to realize that every test, every trick, every manipulation only works if you are asleep, if you do not know yourself. The Jungian path is brutal. You must confront your shadow. You must look in the mirror and see the inside you, the projection. You chase in every woman's face, and once you recognize it, once you integrate it, you are free, because then beauty no longer enslaves you. Mystery no longer blinds you. Testing no longer shakes you. False intimacy no longer traps you, and the promise of forever no longer deceives you. You see her as she is. You see yourself as you are, and in that clarity, you walk untouchable. Most men will die chasing illusions, but maybe not you. Stop searching for the woman who will save you. She doesn't exist. Save yourself. Master yourself. Become the man who kneels before nothing, who fears nothing, who needs nothing. If this truth shook you like the video, share it with a brother and subscribe. Support the mission using the link below.